Hello, hello, welcome everybody. All right, well, excited to have everybody back for another session of our virtual employer speaker series. So excited to have you all. And today is our last installments for the fall 24 semester. So thanks for sticking through it with us. Super excited today as we have our guests today from TRC who are going to talk to you a little bit more about who they are and upcoming opportunities with TRC. Growth Sector and STEM Core has been an ongoing partner with TRC in terms of being able to connect students with internship and employment opportunities. So this is definitely another great session to hear from or to learn a little bit more from. And I know we'll have an opportunity to hear or to learn more about just the process for all of you to get involved with.
Go into the other one in the afternoon? The afternoon one, the one at the...
So we will make sure to leave some time at the end for Q&A. But if you have any burning questions that come up for you during today's session, feel free to throw it into the chat. And then we'll leave about 10 minutes at the end in case you want to unmute yourself and ask questions. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started, and I will turn it over to our lead for today, Megan Tran.
Thanks so much, Cheryl. Hi, everyone. We're super excited to be here. And we just hope that you're having a great day so far and a great fall semester. Like Cheryl mentioned, my name is Megan Tran, and I'm a talent analyst here at TRC. And we're just super excited to share a little bit more about who we are and what we do at TRC. And we really appreciate you all for tuning in. So we can just go ahead and jump right in. Let me share my screen. Can you see that yet?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, awesome. Cool, so let's go ahead and jump in. So for our presentation today, I'll just be going over a brief introduction to TRC, about us, our mission, our vision, and then I'll go over an overview of our sectors at TRC and explain more about what that is. And then I'll go over our internship program, which is primarily what I do at TRC. I support the program and get to connect with students like y'all and our young talent at TRC. And then we'll also have a few guest speakers from TRC who will speak a little bit more on their experience and what they do and showcase some of the cool projects that they've been working on. So, and of course, at the end, like Cheryl mentioned, we will have plenty of time for a Q&A. So I bet you're wondering, who is TRC? So we are consultants, and we've been established since the 1960s. So we've been around for around 60 years, which is very cool to think about. And we deliver engineering, science, and technology to meet our clients' needs through management consulting, engineering, and technology services. Today, we have power, environmental, and infrastructure, and oil and gas markets with more than 7,000 employees across our network. And then to dive into some of our cultural beliefs, our mission and vision statements are our guide and foundation for all that we do, both internally and externally. I believe that our vision can easily align with many of y'all's personal beliefs as well as a STEM major. So our vision is we will solve the challenges of making the earth a better place to live, community by community and project by project. So just through the work that we do, we just want to ensure that we are taking steps to make the earth a better place to live. This is and has been core DNA for TRC, and we are very proud that our company is undertaking so much responsibility to make our world a better place. And we're also proud that we understand our client goals and embrace those as our own. TRC works to keep our mission and vision woven into our solutions and processes. And then just at the top, you can see, along with our mission and vision, TRC also has a set of values that define us as a company. We have safety, which is one of the crucial things in our business. It's one of our #1 core values at TRC. The safety of our employees is just one of the most important values that we hold, and we just want to make sure that we are doing great work, but also taking precaution and doing things safely and making sure that our employees are safe. Next is quality. At TRC, we believe that quality is a responsibility that we all share, and we strive for excellence in the services that we provide. Integrity is also a big one. We hold our employees to the highest ethical standards. And then creativity, we always want to look at the challenges in new ways with fresh perspectives. Accountability, we not only want to do good work, but hold ourselves accountable for it and then be responsible for our decisions. And then lastly, we have passion and teamwork. And there are so many dedicated and so many smart people here at TRC. We bring that passion to what we do as we work as a team. So these are all just key factors to what it takes when you work here at TRC, working together to succeed and achieve a common goal. So moving forward at TRC, another thing that we like to focus on is sustainability. This is a fundamental principle that drives our business. It is embodied again in our vision statement of solving the challenges of making the earth a better place to live, community by community and project by project. And it's broken down into 3 categories. We have people, projects, and the planet. It's broken down in this way so that we can ensure that we're not only setting sustainability standards internally, but also within our partners and the communities that they serve around the world. And every employee plays a vital role in shaping our vision. It's through our people, through performance, through talent, recruitment, development, through capacity building, through our mission of just embracing our clients' goals as our own, that we solve our clients' challenges while driving growth for TRC. So yeah, we are really committed to being a sustainable company, and we always invite all of our employees to actively participate in and contribute to our sustainability efforts. So since we touched a little bit on our philosophy and history, mission and vision, here's kind of like where we are located. TRC has over 7,000 professionals spread across the globe, and we have over 150 offices throughout the US. And we are also a global partner. So we have offices in India, Ireland, Puerto Rico, Canada, the UK, and also China. But to put all this in perspective and give you some context, in 2020, we had about 3.5K employees. And now 3 years later, we have since doubled to almost 8,000 employees. So our company just keeps growing at a rapid rate. And, you know, we hope to keep growing year over year and hope to have some of y'all join us as well. So to touch a little bit on our sectors, we're currently divided into 3 different sectors. We have power, and then we have environmental and infrastructure, which is merged together. And then we have intelligent grid solutions. So we are a leading provider of end-to-end engineering, consulting, and construction management solutions. And at TRC, we have service-focused business groups or sectors. And each of these sectors contains several different practices. The company has grown into an integrated provider of diversified services to the energy, environmental, infrastructure, field services, and digital markets. And in addition to all of these sectors, they're supported by our corporate shared services, which is IT, marketing, HR, which is what I am, safety, legal, and financial services. And even though we have different sectors and practices, we always strive to work together as a team and make sure we're collaborating closely on all our different projects. So as a consulting company, TRC, we pride ourselves on our relationships. Our product is really our people, and our people are our greatest assets. So here you'll see some of the partnerships that we've had over the last 10 plus years or so. We have oil and gas companies such as ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, and others that you can see on the screen. We serve a broad range of public and private clients. We steer projects from concept to completion to help these clients, as you can see on the screen, solve their challenges. So we have been an industry leader, just helping these clients, you know, work through the challenges and complete projects from just concept to completion. And then we also work for a lot of government projects. So all levels of government face, the pressure to maintain safety and efficiency of critical infrastructure. So local, state, and federal agencies will come to TRC with our expertise in transportation, environmental science, and energy to find cost-effective solutions. So from public works to energy programs, infrastructure to redevelopment, our federal, state, and local clients count on our expertise to solve these big problems for them on a specific budget. So now we can move on to a little bit of our culture piece at TRC. We have many networks that employees are able to participate in. We have a TRC's Women Network, which has grown very quickly. GROW stands for Gaining Rewarding Opportunities for Women. And this program is open to all TRC employees, regardless of their gender. Within this program, we offer a mentorship program, and it's just a way to support and uplift the women at TRC. We also have a diversity and inclusion network, and this network is called One TRC. Our world needs everyone. And this network is just created to ensure that all TRC is able to participate in creating, a more diverse future for our company and our employees and the community. So we really just strive to build and nurture a culture where inclusiveness is a reflex and not just an initiative. And then we have our people committee, and our people committee is a committee that provides HR and operating leaders with priorities and inputs from a generational point of view on key elements that make TRC a great place to work. Those things being the workplace, development, culture, benefits. So people committee members are nominated by our leadership every year, and then we ensure that we usually have like a mix of gender, ethnicity, and generations to represent all of TRC. Some great things that actually have happened from this committee is that we actually got an additional paid holiday, which was amazing. And, just to summarize it all, the people committee is really just the voice of our TRC employees. And then lastly, we have TRC's social network, Yammer, where our employees can stay connected with their peers and receive or share pictures, recipes, fitness resources, any tips of any kind. There are many social networks available, including, ones for employees who love pets, books, arts and crafts, health and wellness, anything, you name it. So there's definitely plenty of groups that can figure interest. For instance, I'm actually in like a travel group, so we get to share like different destinations and tips with each other. So TRC is also dedicated to supporting the communities in which we live and work. So throughout the year, different TRC offices across the country, they give back their time, their professional skills, their passions, their hearts. So you'll see many employees come together to make the earth a better place. They'll volunteer for beach cleanups, clothing drives, food banks, different disease awareness, charities, community gift collections. That's just to name a few. But yeah. So now I will briefly go over our internship program at TRC. So we have had an amazing internship program year after year, and it's really just thanks to great students like you all. So we are actually hiring for over 400 interns for next summer, so summer 2025, which is amazing. So all of our interns, they'll get to work and collaborate with over 400 interns just like them, whether that be in office or virtually. During the internship, interns are able to create meaningful connections, whether it just be with their direct team or other employees within TRC. So that kind of jumps to the next point of how interns are able to build their network with the majority of employees at TRC. I will say that everyone is very supportive of the internship program and everyone is just very willing to connect with our interns. And obviously we want to help you understand our clients and the purpose of our work and provide you with the opportunity to gain real on-the-job training from industry professionals. As an intern, you'll be able to jump into projects hands-on and learn so much just by doing. And lastly, we're just proud to say that a lot of our interns end up transitioning to full-time employees upon graduation, and you'll actually get to hear from them yourself towards the end of this presentation. So to touch on some of the things the program will entail, interns will receive a buddy or a mentor upon starting their internship. That's just a good way to get acclimated to our company. And then throughout the internship, we will conduct interviews with the interns to guarantee that they are having a great experience and collect feedback and just utilize that for the next years. We will also have weekly lunch and learns and intern activities. Some will be in person and some of them will be virtual. But for example, at the beginning of the internship, we always have our CEO and CPO, Chief Executive Officer and Chief People Officer come speak to our interns. And then we also have intern geographic networking groups where we group interns by region who are close in proximity and they're able to just network and socialize. If they're in the same city, they might even be at the same school, which is some interns found that they're in the same school, which is kind of great. And then we have a team final project and presentation where interns will just reflect on their internship and how it ties back into the key themes of our values and our mission and vision. So this is just a small list of the many things that we do during our internship program. We definitely love our interns and, you know, there's a lot more that goes into the program than just these 6 bullet points, but just a brief overview. And then here are some pictures of our past and current interns that we've had here at TRC. As you can see, a lot of them were able to get out in the field and experience hands-on what professionals do, ranging from an environmental scientist to an electrical engineer. But yeah, it's just a great program and we're always excited to cultivate young talent here at TRC. But this is just a quick summary of our company and our internship program. And now I will go ahead and take some time to have some of our amazing employees speak about their journeys. So these 3 folks that you see here on the screen, they actually started as interns and now they are working full time. So we have Lena Weifrecht, who is an environmental scientist. And then we have Seth Anderson, who is a transmission engineer. And then lastly, we have CM Hagos, who is an associate systems engineer here at TRC. So I can go ahead and pass it off to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name's Lena. I am based out of Denver, Colorado, and I work in the Lakewood office. Thank you guys for having me here today. I'm excited to share a little bit about my academic journey, my transition from intern to full-time at TRC, as well as some of the projects I've worked on. I remember being in your shoes not too long ago, trying to figure out what my next steps would look like. So I hope my story can offer some insight into the paths that you guys can take. You can go to the next slide. So I started my academic journey studying environmental science and German with a minor in business at the University of Colorado Boulder. Initially, I wasn't exactly sure what direction I wanted to go in, but I knew I wanted to do something that would allow me to be outdoors and advocate for the environment. Now, the environmental science field is quite large. There's what feels like a million different directions to go in. So I knew that internships were going to be crucial for getting hands-on experience and trying these different things to see what I might like. So fall of sophomore year, I applied to quite a few and actually sort of randomly landed on a posting on Handshake for an internship at TRC. I remember reading the description and thinking, wow, this sounds really cool. So I applied and I ended up getting the internship. And that, before I knew it, was going to really open some doors for me. So it was at this point that I started seeing how my academic knowledge could actually translate into real world projects. And that was really exciting. I did start my internship quite early. I had my first full-time summer internship with TRC that next summer going into junior year of college. And this actually allowed me to intern with TRC for 2 years before going full-time, which I don't think is usually the typical timeline, but it worked great for me to work alongside getting my degree. So when I first started my internship, I was eager, but also pretty nervous. I was learning so much on the job that I didn't necessarily learn in the classroom, which was really invaluable. And it was a steep learning curve, but I was fortunate to have really, really great supportive mentors who guided me through everything. So after doing 2 full-time summers as an intern and staying as a part-time on-call staff during the school year, I was offered a full-time position right before graduating in May of 2023. And I've now been on full-time for a little over a year. Moving into a full-time position wasn't just about taking on more work. It was really about stepping into a role where I could lead projects, make decisions, and contribute more meaningfully to the team. And one key turning point for me was when I was trusted with more leadership responsibilities, leading teams in the field and training or mentoring new interns on our team. And I think one of the biggest challenges was adjusting to this increased level of responsibility, because now, instead of just following directions, I was in a position where I had to make sure everything from safety to client communication ran smoothly. And that was a big shift, but I think it's also what has made me grow quickly as a professional and helped me find my passion for leadership. TRC does a really, really incredible job at making this transition from intern to full-time as smooth and stress-free as possible. I always felt extremely supported by my managers and mentors throughout my internship. They really helped work with me on balancing workload with school. They provided me with a ton of training so I could feel confident in my position. They're also extremely supportive of you exploring your interest. So like, due to my increased love of leadership, I've recently taken on the position of PPL intern coordinator. And when I don't know if I've specified, PPL stands for planning, permitting, and licensing, which is the sector that I work in under environmental. So I'm going to be the PPL intern coordinator, which kind of allows me to mentor and support interns across the US in our PPL group. So I'm really stoked for that, since I know how transformative an internship experience can be. And I think another really great thing to highlight is that we have these things called core groups at TRC, which allow us to dive deeper into technical fields of study and expertise that we're interested in while still staying connected with staff in other areas across the US. And this helps us better understand and meet our clients' needs. I'm currently part of the wildlife and the avian core groups, where I kind of collaborate with other specialists across TRC on best practices for serving and protecting wildlife and staying up to date with regulations. It's been invaluable for my growth, and I think it's a really great example of one of those resources that TRC provides us to connect with other staff, find mentors, and just learn from others, because I think over everything, this job has just been a constant learning process, and that's been my favorite part. You can go to the next slide. So now I'm going to highlight some of the work that I do as an environmental scientist. As you can see on the slides, I've listed out some projects that I've been involved in, as well as the states where those projects took place. I'm not going to go super in detail on each one, but rather give kind of an overview on what I do. So first off, what does being an environmental scientist mean? Well, my role focuses on ensuring that projects comply with environmental regulations while balancing development goals. So I work with a variety of stakeholders to help secure the necessary environmental permits and approvals for projects. These can range from large infrastructure developments to renewable energy projects that are a little bit smaller scale. So one of the key aspects of my job is that I conduct various biological field surveys. So during the summers, I'm typically out in the field and doing lots of hiking and looking at plants and animals, which is ultimately what I really wanted to do. So for example, this past summer, I was in Wyoming almost every week doing wetland delineations, looking for endangered species habitats, and conducting these really cool surveys called AIM surveys, which stands for Assessment, Inventory, and Monitoring. AIM surveys are critical for monitoring the health of ecosystems. So they involve collecting data on vegetation and soil to then map what we call ecological site descriptions on BLM federal owned lands to assess how well the land is supporting wildlife and plants and to inform land management decisions ultimately. So these surveys are essential for understanding the long-term sustainability of an area, especially in regions with competing land uses like grazing and energy development. And we had a client that needed ecological site descriptions mapped on a portion of their project that was crossing through BLM lands. So that's what we did this summer. Another one of my favorite surveys are wildlife surveys because that's where my true passion lies. Specifically aerial raptor surveys. These surveys involve tracking and monitoring the habitats of birds of prey. So bald eagles, golden eagles, red-tailed hawks are some examples, to ensure that any development doesn't disrupt their habitat. So the reason these are some of my favorite surveys is because we actually get to go up in a helicopter or a fixed wing plane to look for these species and their nests. So I have some pictures on the right. I think the one on the right in the middle was actually a golden eagle nest that we identified in there. You have to really squint, but there is a golden eagle perched in there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, understanding wildlife patterns is crucial in planning where and how projects can move forward while protecting these incredible birds and biodiversity overall. So I really love these surveys. And yeah, another core area of my work is environmental compliance. So for projects to proceed, they often require multiple environmental permits at local, state, and federal levels. So my job is to navigate these regulations, ensuring that the project meets all necessary environmental standards. This often includes coordinating with regulatory agencies, preparing documentation, conducting impact assessments, and oftentimes using data that we collect in the field. So yeah, being an environmental scientist means constantly learning, whether it's new regulations and laws, more technical field skills, or how to work more effectively as part of a team. But it's really a rewarding role because I get to ensure that development is done in an environmentally conscious way, preserving nature for future generations. And I really like doing that kind of work. Yeah, you can go to my last slide. So yeah, just kind of wrapping it up. Thank you for listening to my journey. I hope you found something relatable or useful for your own paths. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about internships, transitioning to a full-time role, career paths, or anything else. Feel free to reach out to me over email or LinkedIn as well. I have those resources on this slide, and then I'll answer any questions at the end. So yeah, thanks guys.
Thanks, Lena. So we'll go ahead and jump to Seth.
Thanks, Lena. Thanks, Megan. So my name is Seth Anderson. I'm a transmission line engineer. I started with TRC about 2 years ago, and I've done 1 year full-time. So a couple of these pictures are as a transmission line engineer. I'm dealing with overhead transmission lines and underground transmission lines. So pretty much a wind farm is generating electricity, and we're bringing it to a substation. And that substation is then bringing it to a distribution area where then it'll be brought over to towns and cities and kind of how you feed your house with electricity. So you can jump over to the next slide. So I started with at SUNY ECC, which was a community college down in Buffalo, New York. So I got my associate's degree over there, and then I was also part of a couple of different organizations. After that, I transferred over to Clarkson, where I got my civil engineering bachelor's degree. And this is where I really started to fall in love with engineering. So with the SPEED programs, which is student projects for engineering experience and design, I was part of different construction engineering management projects. And then also I built a steel bridge for competition as well. So then while I was in school, I got my first internship with ATL, which was a kind of a construction materials engineering and testing facility. So while I was here, I got my drone pilot certification. I got my nuclear gauge operator certification. I'm a certified technician in concrete and then OSHA 10-hour. So after that, then I ended up going back to Clarkson for my junior year. And at the end of the junior year, I got my first internship with TRC. So during that time, I was an overhead transmission line intern where I was pretty much thrown directly into projects. So I was dealing with client conversations in emails. I was learning multiple different kinds of softwares at the same time, running different kind of reports. And then at the end of the summer, they offered me to stay as an intern throughout my senior year. So this allowed me to kind of balance the world of engineering while finalizing my degree in civil engineering. So the biggest change for me between what I was learning in school and what I was doing as an intern in TRC was, as a transmission line engineer, you have to learn a little bit more about the electrical base of everything, which I was new to me. So like Lena said, it's a nonstop learning progressive that you get to do at TRC, which I like problem solving. I like trying to figure out new things. So the fact that I got to do civil engineering as my study and then dive into electrical engineering as an intern was really cool and interesting for me. So then after my senior year, I was offered a full-time position, and then I became a transmission line engineer. And then a couple months later, I joined the underground team. The underground team is a little bit smaller. I think in total, the transmission line engineer group is about 250, and we have about 10 people in the underground department. So with the underground department, I jumped in and kind of created an academy to begin trainings and recordings and kind of help me understand what I didn't know and what I had to learn. And then also it helps onboarding of new interns and makes the process a little bit easier. So while through that transition of an intern to full-time, the amount of support I had through both mentors and the buddy system and everyone else was really helpful. So everyone's open to answer questions. There's always videos for interns to help you out. There's live chats. And so I started in Buffalo, New York at SUNY ECC, and now with TRC, I'm located in Portland, Oregon. So I'm based right out of the Milwaukee office, which is just the metro inside of that area. So through that, I do have a lot of different projects. You can jump over to the next slide, Megan. So these are the projects that are my intern and first year at TRC. So as you're reading through these, you can see I've done everything from the East Coast to West Coast and projects in Puerto Rico. So wherever you are stationed, being an engineer and what our job entails, we're able to be very fluid in where we work and what's happening. So TRC has PEs across all states, and we have a couple people with a PE in all 50 states, which is pretty impressive. So you're able to be integrated in projects with different clients and different responsibilities, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's constant learning, new softwares, new clients, new regulations. And the big thing that we're doing is there's a lot of feasibility studies. So obviously the grid is trying to improve, and we're trying to make sure that everyone has enough electricity to support your iPad, your computers, your cars, everything of that nature. So we want to make sure that, is this project possible? Are we going to run into any issues, or how much is it going to cost? So we recently put in a bid proposal for an underground transmission line that was $999 million. So the projects that we deal with are not small. So they are large scale. They take a couple years to complete, and you're usually integrated in multiple projects at the same time. So if you get stuck on one thing, you can almost use the experience from another project to help answer those questions. And by being part of so many different projects, you really get to kind of increase your network with who you're working with, because every project there's a core group of people, and then there's project supervisors and managers. So you really get to get integrated nicely inside of these projects. So a couple of these pictures are the one on the top. That's going to be an underground cable reel. So that is either made on the East Coast or it's made overseas and has to get shipped over. So there's regulations on how big it can be with permitting of travel size, and then also just kind of the weight of everything. So those are wooden slats, and that's, I mean, that's pretty tall. If someone were to stand next to it, they'd probably be about a third of the size of it. So you do have a large shipment coming towards you. On the right-hand side is just a transition area from an overhead into a substation. So a lot of different clearances and regulations. You got to make sure that cars can go underneath there. That it's going to be safe in case the wind ends up blowing it outside of the right of way and things. And then in the picture in the bottom, this is a manhole for underground transmission lines. So for overhead, you just have the air and you splice it together. But in underground, you have to build these vaults because underground is underground. You can't see anything. So these vaults are 18 feet wide sometimes, and then you have about 9 feet long. So you get these long things where the cables connect. Think of like an extension cord. It's how you plug it in. But you have to make sure that there's no interference of dust or other things like that that can cause a short circuit. So it's a constant learning thing. We're always doing new feasibility projects. We're helping out major clients like PG&E, that huge grid fire that we happened in 2021. We were part of the group that went through their entire grid and their system using PLS CAD and other kind of softwares and checked every single one of their clearances, checked their hardwares, checked everything to make sure that this wasn't going to happen again. So that was a very large project that I got to be part of in the intern. And then if you want to jump over to the next slide for us. So this is another project that I was part of. So this is an underground transmission area in the Northeast, and it is showing, it's an old glacial area. So there was a lot of issues that we were worrying about fracking out. So fracking out is when you push something into the ground, it ends up shooting above earlier than you actually want it to. So this picture just kind of shows an overview of what we're doing behind the scenes in our project. So the red lines are going to be borings that we had to contact our geo department for to take care of. Then the color that's kind of behind, that's a GPR, so ground penetrating radar. And it's also used noise kind of vibrations to send through and seismic velocities. So by doing that, we could actually see where the bedrock was and where the different kind of stratums or different kind of layers of soil were inside of the area. So this was a really difficult project, a lot of fun. I learned a lot just kind of being inside of it. So I want to show this picture to show what we do as an engineer so that the world is able to have electricity. So there's always questions, there's always something new to learn, and it's kind of a lot of fun. But that is all I have on my side, at least as the engineer in my first year and my year as an intern as well. You can reach out to me with any questions or also look me up on LinkedIn.
Thanks so much, Seth.
Of course.
And now we're going to move on to our final guest, and that is Siam.
Good afternoon. Yeah, so my name is Saim Hagos. I'm from Houston, Texas, part of the Intelligent Grid Solutions sector, and been working as associate system engineer in TRC for, I think, a little over 2 years now. You can go to the next slide. So I started off at Texas A&M as an electrical engineering, studying that, and did that for around 4 years, and was part of different organizations on campus, members of Engineers Without Borders and other leadership organizations. And during my college career, I was also involved in a lot of hackathons, building little and like small little projects on the side with friends, doing little coding and computer science kind of focused projects. And that built up a lot of my, I guess, resume and experience. And so when I was at A&M at a career fair, met with someone from HR at TRC, connected, and went through a bunch of rounds of interviews and finally got an internship summer of 2022 at TRC. And during the internship, I mentioned that most of my school studying in the past was electrical engineering, but a lot of my passion and I guess a lot of the project and experience I've had comes with coding and computer science, and I was recently been introduced to kind of the cloud architecture and design, and mentioned that during my internship. And toward the end of my internship, I got connected with a mentor within TRC and started exploring more into the cloud kind of side of development. And during my internship, this tool where we were working with the utility companies that have smart meters out in the field, and they would generate meter reads that would send it back to the head end in order for billing, so you know how much to pay at the end of the month and kind of things. But in order to test those meters, they would need some kind of tool to generate kind of made up data. So me and my internship buddy at the time came up with this random tool, the Symmeter 3000, to develop fake data that head end systems can use to ingest and test their system. And that was really cool. Enjoyed that, and then that people really had a lot of eyes on that and enjoyed that, and that kind of gave me the opportunity to become full-time with TRC, to finish my undergrad and work kind of part-time while I was doing that, and started full-time in this summer of 2023, and fully transitioned into working with cloud solutions and cloud architecture and automation. So started working with Centerpoint, kind of part of their meter data management team. So all their databases and infrastructure that's hosted on premises, I'm helping kind of move that to the cloud and automate some of their services and testing that was occurring. And also within TRC, I'm part of the onboarding coordinator program and spirit member, so helping new hires get integrated within TRC and get accustomed to the TRC culture and stuff like that. You can go to the next slide. So yeah, I work for the Intelligent Grid Solution. So it's a fully remote sector, I believe. Working for clients, you kind of have to go to the offices if need to. So I just work from home. So these are just pictures from outside my house. Nothing really cool to show on site. But for the kind of projects that I've been focusing on in the past year and a half that I've been working full time are cloud solutions. So developing cloud solutions and services for utility companies. I've mentioned Centerpoint. Also worked with Snowpud in Washington in the past, and also briefly with Eversource in Massachusetts. So just developing automated cloud infrastructure testing, development tools. I've also been working with Linux virtual machine management, so managing their virtual machines, getting them upgraded, security patching, and just all cycles of management. And the biggest thing also would be my internship project that I had developing some sort of testing tool for utility companies that recently, in the past couple months, got picked up again to be applied for another company. So I was the project lead for an internship program where other interns were working on further developing the internship project that I started on 2 years ago. So it was really cool to kind of lead that and then develop that. And then I think in a couple months it's being talked about being productized and sold as a other companies, so getting sources of income. So it's really cool to see something go from just a simple internship project to become like an actual product that is being talked about, being sold to other clients, being used heavily in client work, stuff like that. So the smallest things can like flourish to like really big things later on. But that's pretty much kind of the work I've been working on. And if there's anything like you feel like applies to your journey that I could help with, definitely feel free to reach out to me on my email or LinkedIn. Yeah, thank
So
you.
much, Sam. And thanks to all of our guest speakers. I hope that was helpful for y'all to learn a little bit more about TRC and our internships and the transition from intern to full-time, and what some of our subject matter experts do at TRC. But with that being said, that concludes our presentation, and we really appreciate y'all for all tuning in. We can go ahead and open the floor for any questions, or I can pass it back to you, Cheryl.
Awesome. No, thank you so much, and great timing, TRC team. Exactly 15 minutes
Thank
left,
you.
so appreciate that. We have a few questions that came up in the chat that I'll just read out. So the first was from Samuel, asked earlier, what type of projects are available for a civil engineering major that anybody might be able to speak to?
I can
Yeah,
touch on
that's
that briefly because I am a civil engineer. So we do have an infrastructure development group where kind of do roadways and other kind of buildings and site visits of different kind of almost wind farm areas. And then also as a civil engineer, you have the opportunity to be a transmission line engineer as well. So that's mechanical, civil, and electrical as well.
And if you want to go to our corporate site, you can see the QR code on the top left. There's a page where you can kind of see an overview of a lot of the projects that we do. So that's also somewhere you can look to see what we do at TRC and the projects that we do.
Super helpful. And this is STEM students, this is all being recorded, so you'll be able to watch this back and grab some of the QR codes if you're not able to, if you might be on your phone. And I also, just while we're going through the Q&A, I just put in a really quick feedback survey that you could work on while we're talking, just to give your feedback on today's session. So please click on the link and do that. I see a question, it says question for CM. What level of experience did you have prior to starting your internship? I am new to the computer engineering world.
Yeah, I can answer. For my experience before I started my internship, it was so most of my coursework at school was electrical engineering, but I had personal experience with coding in different languages, mainly Python and Java. And yeah, those were, I would say it was a lot more coding experience that I had prior to the internship. So during my internship, that's the kind of project work that I wanted to work on and ended up working on So the tool we were working on was mainly developed in Python, but we were hosting it on AWS, Amazon Web Services. And so that kind of married the two focuses or interests that I had was of coding and development and also cloud solutions. So yeah.
Thank you for that.
Mhm.
I had a question for all the panelists that were presenting. How does all of your projects and your expertise coincide and help the environment?
Yeah, I can start. I mean, my position especially, I focus on environmental. But I think probably one of the biggest ways is that I like to view myself as like an advocate for a lot of these like endangered species, rare plants, just like environmentally sensitive species that don't necessarily have a voice, and we kind of are that bridge between our client and the development to make sure that none of this is being disrupted. So I think that's probably one of the biggest ways that I am like environmentally focused. I think TRC, I'm part of like the sustainability coordinator network, and we're always trying to find ways to educate our staff and kind of work as a community to be more sustainable. So I think that's a really great way for us to be environmentally focused as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was asking at the same time, like with expertise, the other two panelists that were speaking expertise, like I know I pretty much know what you do, Lena, as far as environmental studies to help the environment, but I was asking basically what their like how would your expertise at the same time occur with theirs in order to improve the environment? Like they have this problem of plastic in the environment, which causes a lot of people to have psychotic symptoms and stuff like that, mental health disorders, other health conditions. So I'm wondering how TRC Companies is basically working on, I know it's probably nearly impossible to get rid of the plastic because plastic is everywhere in the environment, but how are they pretty much working towards improving that huge problem that is pretty much not like being spoken about or not being addressed as much in the media?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a big issue, and I agree. It's something that isn't necessarily addressed all the time. I was a part of a core group for microplastics. And so we met like I think it was like once a month we would meet and basically talk about what the regulations are currently. So I know like California was one of the first states that came out with like a plan. What are we doing about microplastics? And so we kind of took a deep dive on that, and the unfortunate thing is that we kind of have to wait until we have a client that is addressing these issues. And so what we were able to do was prep as well as we could, do research, work with local colleges to work with their research team to prepare ourselves for when we do have clients that come to us and say, hey, we want to address this microplastics issue. Do you guys have the expertise? And then we are ready to kind of help them with that and give them our like technical expertise. So I think that's one of the ways, like specifically for like a plastics issue, that we kind of prepare ourselves to help with those things.
Okay, thank you.
And Lena, I'll piggyback off that. So as an engineer, a lot of times as a consultant, the client will come to us to solve one of their problems. And if we have a better way to do something, we can write what's called a white paper and prove to the client why we should go over this instead of using plastic. So we have a voice inside of it, but being a consultant, we don't always have the final say. So we kind of have to listen, like Lena's saying, we just have to be prepared for it. So behind the scenes, we are preparing for it, and engineers do have the ability to tell the client, hey, we really think this is a better option and for XYZ reason. So it's definitely something that we're thinking about and definitely something that we're trying to pursue a little bit further, but that's a great question.
And a question came up earlier from Becca asking, Sam, where are you based? And do you ever go in the office or out in the field?
So I'm based in Houston, Texas, mainly in Sugarland. So and I work fully remote, except one day in the office where I go to our client office in Centerpoint in downtown. And I'm pretty sure the intelligent grid solutions as a whole is a remote sector, just working from all over the United States. But me personally, I don't go to I don't have site visits or anything like that. It's mainly just working from home and looking at screens. But I get fun on the weekends, so.
Thank you. Another question just came in. What are some important skills and experiences one must have to be able to intern at TRC, especially for engineering and software engineering?
I can start with that since I worked with engineering, software engineering. The first thing I would say was, like Seth mentioned earlier, that once you start working as TRC, it's always evolving. You're just constantly learning. I've been working for a year and a half, and it's just constantly learning new things and problem solving every day, which is pretty much what software engineering is all about. So I would say the biggest thing would be as a software engineer is just the willing to like learn and go above and beyond. Because if you're just being done what's assigned, it doesn't really make you stand up. Being as a software engineer, there's a lot of ways to go above and beyond, produce new designs, new ways to automate, new ways to make things more efficient, and then come up with solutions instead of just doing like whatever task is being told. And then the other thing would be as an intern as a whole would just be reaching out, trying to get as much experience as you can. That was one thing I did was reaching out since I started just doing the coding and engineering side and wanted to get more cloud, I guess, experience. So that's where I met my mentor, and I've been working with my mentor for a year and a half now, just working together at Centerpoint. So just trying to reach out and get as much experience as you can and trying to learn from all the people that are way smarter and have way more experience from you because they're just there to help you. Yeah, I'll leave it to the other panelists.
Yeah, and I can piggyback that off of that as a whole. Usually when we look for interns, technical skills are always a plus, but we know sometimes that it's, your first experience in the workplace. So like CM said, we really just look for people who are, motivated, just passionate about what they are studying and just willing to learn. So I think those are some qualities that we look for.
Megan, this might be a good opportunity to talk about the timeline for internships. For our STEM course students, I do have a flyer that Megan and her lead Maria shared, so I'll be able to send it out after today's session. But Megan, since you're here, if you could talk a little bit about just like the timeline and how you encourage students to go through the process.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are actually hiring for our 400 plus interns for the summer 2025 right now. So if you see on the screen, the bottom QR code, you'll see all of our internship application links. As far as the timeline and the interview process, once you apply, we will usually have a recruiter reach out to you. And within the next couple of weeks, we'll schedule you for a pre-screen call with the recruiter. And then from there, you'll have your second round interview. So it's just a two-step interview process, and from there, the hiring manager will make their decision. But yeah, our recruiting season is open. If you want to apply, please feel free to start applying and scan this QR code. And yeah.
Awesome. Oh, and one more question came in from Becca. Are there any positions available for biological science majors who have done technical work, like research, programming, physics, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. We have internship openings ranging from corporate, so HR, IT, finance, to intelligent grid, which is more computer science. Then we also have our environmental interns and civil interns, and then also power interns. So I think that would fall into the category of more like environmental interns if they want to look for that title when they go to this link.
Awesome. No, so huge thank you to, if there are no more questions, to the TRC team for spending their Friday morning, well, potentially afternoon for some of you with us. So thank you for that. For our STEM core students now, we do have just a few updates we wanted to be sure to share with you before we let you go today. One of them is, yes, so I will be sending out the recording after today's session with all the great information that the TRC team went over today. We will also be, or I also just wanted to put on, or make sure everybody was aware that STEM core and growth sector is all over social media. So definitely check us out on Instagram, definitely on LinkedIn. We've done a few LinkedIn sessions over the past couple of months, so definitely make sure you're tapping into the network there. Today's session will be added to our YouTube channel, so I'll share the link with all of you via email after this. And then also, STEMcore has a podcast, so make sure that you are joining the listserv, that you are getting the updated podcasts that are going out. Just really great information all around that you should be tapping into. And then next slide, Myra, I put the link in the chat already, but please literally takes 3 minutes to do our feedback survey on today's session, provide any feedback. Every student who participates in the survey will be entered into a raffle to win a gift card. So please make sure to take a minute following today's session to do that. And yeah, so thank you so much for your time, everybody. Appreciate you. Have a great weekend, and we will catch you at the next session. Everybody.
Everyone for having us.
Thanks, everyone.